Now, a great way that I love to wrap up a lesson or to get my students to reflect on what they've just done is to do an activity called Think, Pair, Share. This activity has 3 steps to it: think, pair, and share. So first, the students are going to think quietly about 2 things that they learned during this lesson. And next, the students are going to get into pairs, and they're going to share with their partner about themselves, about what they learned today. Saying things like, today I learned that elephants can stand on their heads and that bears have 2 ears. And when they're done discussing in pairs, I'm going to have those pairs get together with other pairs and form larger groups. And in those larger groups, they're going to share about their partners. Saying things like, my partner told me that they learned that giraffes are tall and that they have large eyes and that bears shouldn't live in cages, and so on. And notice that I could have wrapped up this lesson by me as the teacher telling them what we did in class today and what we learned. That can be acceptable. A lot of teachers will wrap up their lessons that way. But through a fun, simple activity, I can actually get my students to do that reflection on their own and to even be able to practice the vocabulary and some basic communication skills all at the same time. That's why I like this activity for wrapping up, but you might have your own style and your own way that you like to bring your lessons to a close. So now we're pretty much done. We've wrapped up the lesson by getting the students to review and reflect on what they've accomplished. But I also like to add one other thing, and it's not in our PPP lesson structure. This is really just a tip that I learned from another teacher. And that is that I like to add a few extension activities. And extensions are really just more activities or any ideas that I have right now that I could use in a pinch to extend this lesson, to make it a little longer in case I happen to finish early and we're all just sitting around and we got 20 minutes left on the clock with nothing to do. And these are just some quick, simple notes to remind me what I could possibly do here if I needed an extension activity. So I could play the game charades, where I get the students to act out the vocabulary, or Pictionary, where I get the students to draw pictures of the vocabulary, or Taboo, where I get the students to describe the vocabulary without using the actual name of the animal in this case. So I'm going to give myself a simple little note here. Each of these all require a simple little vocabulary slip, so I might remind myself to make some of those just in case I need them, or to be ready to make them in a pinch. So here are 3 great extension activities that I can use for all kinds of different vocabulary lessons, and all I need is a little slip of paper with names of my vocabulary on them. Another classic extension activity that can be great to throw in at the end of a lesson is write 5 sentences. And this is where I'd have my students just write a few simple sentences or even create a story using whatever animals, whatever adjectives, whatever verbs that they want to use. They just get to write. Now there's another beauty to these extension activities. So not only can I throw them in at the end of my lesson if I need to just fill more time, but I can also throw these in semi-spontaneously into one of the other sections of my lesson earlier on. If I realize partway through my lesson that my students needed more practice or more production, then these activities don't just have to fall at the end, they could be inserted somewhere earlier in the lesson as well. So these are just some quick notes. I don't really need to plan this out in great detail because hopefully if I've done my job well, I won't need this. And I forgot my time for Think, Pair, Share. Usually this takes about 5 to 10 minutes. I'm just going to go in the middle for this one, call it 7. If I've done my timing well for this lesson, Should be good to go. Won't need those extensions at all. But it's good to have them ready just in case. Guys, we just planned a simple vocabulary lesson that's full of fun, creative, interactive activities that are organized into a simple but logical order using the PPP framework. And you don't have to use the 3 Ps for every lesson. And we'll have a chance in the future to talk about some other kinds of frameworks that you can use instead of PPP. But what we have here is a way to structure your lesson from beginning to end, so that you can be given any kind of topic or a set of vocabulary, and then plan a set of activities around that topic and vocabulary quickly and easily. We managed to do this in less than 15 minutes, which I think is amazing. It means I might still have a few minutes before class to grab a cup of coffee, print some photos, find something to toss around, or even rummage through my kids' toy box to find some helpful little visual aids. In many cases, this kind of simple outline is enough to get yourself organized and ready to teach. But in some of our upcoming videos, we're going to show you how to take this simple little outline and turn it into a much more detailed lesson plan using a lesson plan template. And that lesson plan is the one that we're going to be using throughout most of the course. But before we get into all those details, I want to know what kind of PPP, triple P lesson plan you will come up with.